I'm going to try to get this through this, but after seeing Charlie cry this afternoon, it's kind of hard not to. I remember the first time we met Charlie was at a dinner in Penn State. We were visiting Abbey at school. She was nervous. You could see it in her eyes. But when he came, she like completely changed. She was happy. She was smiling. Charlie was great. Conversed with us really well. Was engaging. Really wanted to get to know us, and that was fun. The second time we met him was at Abby's graduation. And again, he picked up right where he left off. He was great, talked to us, everything else. He even talked to the grandmother, like hadn't heard her stories about them already. So, good for that. I forget. I got notes. Forget. Sorry. Later that day, we ended up playing cards at a hotel that we were staying at while Abby was graduating. And again, he fit right in. That's what she said immediately. He even had some smart ass comments for Linda when she said something stupid. So, but what really set him apart was shortly after that, a couple months after that, when we found out she was going to stay in Pittsburgh for internships and stuff. We went up to spend the weekend with them. Went to a baseball game, the zoo, a couple things like that. When we got back from that, Charlie sent Nancy and I a handwritten note that said how appreciative he was of that weekend, how much he enjoyed spending time with us and getting to know us, and that he felt selfish for keeping Abby there, that he was keeping her away from us, and that he said he was going to make her comfortable support system, and he wasn't going to be a stranger because he knew what county we lived in. So, where's that at? He was just overall different in a good way. So from the time that Abby started talking about Charlie and we started getting to know him and things, you could see that he was just different for her. He was special. He just touched a different button for her than most of the others boys that have been in her life. You can tell by the way they look at each other, the inside jokes, the subtle touches they have with each other, that they truly, truly care about each other. And they're in love, so. 1 second. Second page. Thanks for numbering them backwards. So Abby, she's always been independent, intelligent, smart, funny, obviously beautiful bride. She's a procrastinator, a little difficult at times, but for her to find someone like Charlie who truly gets all that, accepts it, and is happy and stays happy himself, shows he's truly a special person. So, and Trisha, you raised a great young man. He is thoughtful, he's sincere. He's a great conversationalist, and he takes care of Abby and loves her. So not only makes him important to her, but also to us as well. So to all the Blenkos and the family, thank you for welcoming Abby into your hearts and your homes. She moved away from us. It's great to know that she has people that support her and are willing to help her out and just treat her as one of their own. So, from this point on, Charlie, she's your problem, and no backsies. I'm done.
Ray, why don't you get you a big hug over here? I think you earned a big hug over here. Let's hear it one more time for Ray. Such a great way to kick things off here tonight with our family. And to follow up now, we're going to invite Charlie's father to share a little bit. Let's hear it for Andy Blenko.
Just like me, my boy was just like me. And the cats and the pail and the silver spoon little boy blue and the man.
You want your hug first, right? Go ahead, get your hug first.
I don't know when, but we'll get together then. But Dad, we're gonna have a good time then.
First of all, a warm welcome to all of you, family, friends, coworkers, all here to celebrate this wonderful occasion, the marriage of Charlie and Abbey. Fortunately, there is no pandemic this time, like the last Blenko wedding, but thank you all for coming. Occasions like this are the foundation of families, the moments we will look back on for generations to come. Two great families are now joined together, and a new family will grow. I know we all wish the newlyweds well. Tricia and I are very proud of Charlie, and today is no exception. Charlie followed in my footsteps in so many ways. He was a railroad nut from age 2, and by age 8 was tagging along with me to railroad conferences where the older guys welcomed his youthful enthusiasm. Initially, he was my son, but eventually he was the star player, and I was relegated to the position of Charlie's dad. Charlie followed me into civil engineering, a fundamental discipline for the betterment of society. He spent hours as a young boy building things. There's a family story when he was just a toddler, and Tricia told my mother one day, "I think Charlie may grow up to be an engineer." My mother quickly replied, "Honey, he was born an engineer." Even better, Charlie chose to attend Penn State to earn his engineering degree, one of the best decisions I'd made in my lifetime. What an incredible source of pride to hear about his classes and learning experiences in Sackett Hall, where I spent many long hours myself. It was like reliving my college experiences without the worry of grades or exams. Charlie took in everything Penn State had to offer, including meeting two of my favorite personalities, the Nittany Lion and Mike the Mailman. What I did not foresee was that he would meet the woman who was to become his wife, Abby Faust. They had friends in common and often found themselves the unmatched pair at social gatherings. So we figured, why not? It is often said that the best relationships grow out of friendships, and indeed, this one did. We met Abby a little over 3 years ago and knew she was something special. I think it took her a while to figure me out, but in time we clicked. She and Charlie complement each other beautifully, and I have no doubt this will be a marriage for all time. Truly, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. There is a piece of marriage advice I frequently give out, and that is never say anything about your spouse to others that you wouldn't say directly to them. It does no good to debate your relationship with others. Change can only happen by open, honest communication between yourselves. Give praise generously and admit fault when it is deserved. They say marriage is a 50-50 proposition, but it's really more like 75-75. That's bad arithmetic, but good advice. And yes, it's okay to sleep on the couch once in a while. In closing, I have something to give to the bride and groom.
The compass.
It's a compass with the seal of Penn State on its face. Penn State is where you met, and it holds cherished memories of your time there. These compasses will help you find your true north in each other and a campus that will always welcome you back where your relationship began. Charlie and Abby, here's to a wonderful life together.
Sim, welcome. Lobby.
Now, I'm told there's nothing else between me and your meal. And, you know, they always say the hardest position is being a speaker right after lunch. I don't think it's any harder than being a speaker right before dinner. So with that, please dig in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's amazing to see all of you here in this room. It is incredible. We lucked out with perfect weather, perfect food, perfect vendors, perfect people here, and I couldn't be more grateful to call Abby my wife. So, we wanted to offer you a couple words that I'll try to put together nicely and not cry as much as I did during the ceremony. Uncle Bob said I did a pretty good job keeping it together, but I sensed some sarcasm. So Ray mentioned that Abby likes to procrastinate, and she must be rubbing off on me because Bachelor Chuck, owner of Club Chuck's, would have had this speech written like 6 months ago. But husband Chuck was writing this about 4 hours ago. So we'll see how this goes. Unlike Ray, I didn't ask ChatGPT to edit mine though. So if there's some errors, it's because it's from the heart. One quick administrative note though, we recognized all the couples in the room who have been engaged since our engagement, but that group didn't include one that set everything off and, shall I say, broke the seal on the gangs engaging. So Nicola and Andre, if you would stand for a second. This table was affectionately called the gang. They are our closest college friends, and all of us were kind of looking at each other in college, like who's going to couple up. I was fortunate enough to end up with the now Mrs. Blenko. Nicola and Andre have been together since high school, and we were all kind of looking at each other nervously, like who's going to propose first, who's going to propose first. And Andre was very secretive about it, but he broke the seal after I already had the ring in hand, and I was like, shoot, I'm not going to be first now, but you know what? They deserve it. So congratulations. So Abby and I shared private vows by the beautiful lake this morning. And as part of that, she shared a story with me that she had kept a secret until now. For those of you who don't know, I had a speech therapist when I was little, Miss Jan, she's here. Now I'm married to a speech therapist, so Abby works with little kids, helps them to find their voice just like she's helped me find mine and talk about something other than bridges and trains. But Abby told a child she was working with that she wasn't going to be at work the next 2 Wednesdays because she was getting married. And the little kid looked at her and said, "What's a wedding?" And Abby, in a way only a speech therapist could, said, well, a wedding is when you get a big party together of all your closest friends and family, and you say forever to your best friend. And honestly, I couldn't have summed it up better myself. Everyone told us, I remember Woody telling us when we left his wedding, expect 20% no's across the board. You're not going to have 20% of the people come. It's a common rule of thumb. When we had 100 yeses in the RSVPs and 1 no, that didn't add up to 20%. I'm not crunching the numbers, but that was pretty high. We're just going to take that as a positive sign that where we ended up, we were well above that 80% mark we were looking for. We just feel so loved. We feel so loved that you took your holiday weekend, traveled from all across the country or across the world to be here with us to celebrate our love at this beautiful venue on this beautiful day. And we couldn't be more grateful that each and every one of you is here. When we had our little night before ceremony last night, we were talking to Bill and Nancy Koutzes for a minute, and we mentioned to them, Abby keeps asking, like, how are they related to us? They're like my grandma's cousin's kids, something like that. And we said, you know what? All there is to say is that everyone here, whether related by blood, relationship, work, etc., family is not just who's closest to you on the tree, it's who you hold closest in your heart. And I think that's going to stick with us. So all of you are close in our heart, and we are glad you're here. We're inspired by each and every one of your love stories. Not every one of them is sung about in a Taylor Swift song, but some of them are as old as Roy and Judy, celebrating 60-something years at this point. Some of them are Avery and Kenzie, who got married last year. From young and old, new, we're just so thrilled to be surrounded by everyone here, and we're inspired by your love, and it keeps Abbey and I's fires going. So now to tell you a little bit about our love story. It might not have been written with a glitter pen, as Abbey tells me about how Taylor Swift writes her songs. It might have been written in a couple state college bars and a couple late nights at Club Chuck's. But this is our love story, and I just wanted to summarize it for all of you here. As soon as I was sent off to kindergarten, I learned about girls. And even at that young age, when I was struggling to say many words, I discovered them, and I knew that one day I had this vision. I was going to go to Penn State, just like my dad and just like my pap-pap, and I was going to meet this beautiful girl, and we were going to fall in love, and she would be my wife. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but that was what I had in my head as a 5-year-old kindergartner. It took some time. Those of you that knew me in high school, as we put together our age table numbers here, the teenage years over in that corner, they're rough. Let's just say I wasn't a catch. I went to a couple high school dances, never twice with the same girl. Maybe I need to put on some more deodorant, but who knows? So I wasn't sure how this vision was going to come true. Eventually, I'd find my way to Penn State, but the girl part, not so sure. I applied to colleges. I applied to Penn State. I accepted at one place, and my mom said, shouldn't you reach for something else? Shouldn't you apply to a couple schools in case it works out? And I said, nope, I'm going to Penn State. Kindergartner me knew it, and I knew it then. So off I went to Penn State. So I checked off that part of the promise and the dream. Girl part, still in progress. But on College Avenue, at Stage West, contrary to popular belief, exactly 4 years and 4 days ago today, there was the one. The one who would make my dreams come true. I met Abbey on a back-to-school bar crawl with the gang that I was invited to by chance. Thanks, Aaron. At the first bar, I was just the one taking pictures of the group. We found it the other day. It showed up in Aaron's flashbacks, the photo that I took and wasn't in because I didn't know any of these people yet. But I remember walking down the road to the other bars, and I took a notice of this one brunette, and she was pretty cute. And I said, that's the girl. Now, it took me a while to get her. I didn't have the best confidence, especially after that high school track record. But one night at Nacho Night at Champs, dollar nachos, love it. We have icy mango here to celebrate and remember. There was the corner booth. You remember the semicircle tables? And there was an open spot on one side, and there was an open spot on the other next to Abbey. And I had some sweaty palms, but I said in my head, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit next to Abbey. We had been friends at this point for a couple months, but we hadn't really talked much yet. And my real good pickup line, I sat down next to her, and after a few plates of nachos, I said, I don't have anybody in this group chat's phone number.
And I said, me either.
She was going to make me work a little bit harder than that. So then I really had to build up some courage, and I said, which one's you, Abbey? And then she told me. Over the next couple of months, I found the courage to ask her to be my girlfriend. I found the courage to ask her to go on a cross-country road trip with me and couch hop with a few relatives across the country who are in this room. Thanks, Aunt Pam, for hosting us. And it all worked out in the end. I asked her to come to Pittsburgh because this is where I was going to be. I was graduating first, and I give her so much credit and her family so much credit for having the trust and faith in me that I would support her here, that I would love her here, and we know where Waynesboro is and what county it's in. We'll stop by. I remember going to visit Nancy and Ray in Waynesboro, though, for the first time. I'd been to significant others' parents' houses before, but this wasn't the same. This wasn't just going to visit a girlfriend's house. This was going to visit my future in-laws. It was hard to find because it was after the 4th of July, so the corn stalks were pretty high. But I found my way there, and in that home, I found a place of love, I found a place of support. I found a home filled with that's what she said jokes. And a beautiful dog named Zoe, and now her 2 crazy brothers who took her place. And I knew that not just was Abby somebody that I wanted to make my wife, but the Faustware family I wanted to be a part of. So thank you. One day after we moved in together, Abby and I were talking, and we said, I said, it'd be really cool if we had some people in different parts of our lives meet each other, like Jan to meet the speech therapist you went to school with, and, Jacob to meet Woody, and Mason to meet Rob, all these people to be paired together and have conversations. And in a way only Abby could say, as matter-of-factly as possible, she said, Charlie, that's called a wedding. And then the bulb clicked, and I said, oh, maybe it's time to start working on that. So last June, there was a week when you were at home in Waynesboro while your parents were at a Jeep Jamboree and you were watching the crazy dogs. I was at home inspecting the Fort Pitt Bridge at night, thanks Scott. Not the cookie table Fort Pitt Bridge, but the real one. And they rolled their eyes that I was driving home every single night to my parents' house instead of just going to my apartment, and they couldn't understand why. The reason I was going home to my parents every night was because I knew I wanted to ask my parents that week if Abby was the right girl for me in their eyes. And again, I had some sweaty palms. I was working night shift, so I wasn't quite sure when I was going to get it in, and I strung it out till the last night possible that Abby was out of town. And I went up to my mom, and she was walking towards me. And she said, I have something I want to ask you. And I said, that's funny, me too. And that's when my mom took me downstairs and pulled out my Mimi's ring. And she said, I don't know when you want this, but I have a feeling it's for Abby. And it's yours when you're ready. Somehow there's that wireless connection between a mother and their son. I was about to ask her if Abby's the right person for me to marry that very day. I knew the answer already. Last summer, later, I knew I needed to ask Nancy and Ray. Abby and I talked about it, and I knew she's a progressive woman. She listens to Taylor Swift. I wasn't just going to ask Ray. I was going to ask Nancy and Ray. So I found a weekend they were coming to Pittsburgh, and I found every excuse in the book to get them here earlier and said, oh, I can flex my hours. Abby will still be at work, but you can drop the stuff off at the house. And I nervously drove them to go get lunch while Abby was still at work. And I asked them if I could marry their daughter. They shed a few tears, not as many as I did at the ceremony, but a few. And they enthusiastically said yes, which was the happiest answer I had ever heard. To which I looked at my phone and I had a bunch of texts from my now wife saying, why are you guys taking so long at lunch? We're supposed to be going to the boat. Abby's a smart woman, and she didn't suspect anything then. She asked me after the fact, did you ask my parents the question? And I said, shoot, that would have been a great time to ask them. And I wasn't in high school drama, but apparently I was a pretty good convincing actor because she believed me. But she must have had a hunch, because one night when I was at Roy's, she went looking around my office room at the house. And she was looking for these ring-shaped boxes. I don't know why she would have been. But lucky for me, I hid it in a train car box. She wasn't going to look there. When I finally proposed on a visit to State College, with Emma so eloquently hidden inside her car, and I got down on one knee and heard the motor of her car window going down to snap some pictures, I remember my lips quivering, my hands shaking, and my heart feeling so full. And it made me the happiest man in the world when she said yes. Who knew it would take so long and have a lot of failures before we found success? But that little kindergartner Charlie that wanted to move off to Penn State and marry a cute brunette who would be his support and his love would have been so happy to see where we are now. We celebrate with our friends after I proposed. Shout out to the gang. And we went home on Sunday. This was 48 hours after I proposed. You're supposed to enjoy it, right? Like it's an exciting time. You're happy together. And I got all these texts from my mom saying, we need to come over and congratulate you. We need to say hi. We need to say congrats. And we said, Mom, we haven't gone grocery shopping. The fridge is empty. We both have work at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Like, we have stuff to do. We have a load of laundry. And she said, it'll be so quick. I just need to stop over at your house really quick. I have a present for you. Well, surprise, I have a present for you tonight. Anyone who knows the systems analyst mom I have knows that every wedding in her family has a couple Excel spreadsheets that need a binder to carry them. On that night, 48 hours after I proposed, she dropped off the so-called wedding binder. And a week later, we ended up here, checking it out, just casually, oh, maybe this would be a nice place to get married. So tonight, I just wanted to give it back to you, Mom, because there's been a lot of tears, there's been a lot of phone calls, there's been a lot of late nights, there's been a lot of visits with Nancy and Ray to coordinate this party. It's perfect. The wedding binder did its job, and I've had enough. So here you go.
Evan, you're next. Watch out.
I don't ever want to see it again until it's one of your weddings, Jenna or Evan. So here we are on our wedding day. I married the love of my life. We're surrounded by overwhelming amounts of love from our friends and family alike. I could not be happier to stand here today as husband and wife with Abby. She's kind, she is fiercely loyal and protective. We complement each other perfectly to balance each other out. Abby, you make me so happy. There's a reason I couldn't hold it together today. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to wick out a tear or two today. I don't think it was the eye drops that were coming down my face today. Abby, I feel it. I know it. Everyone in this room knows it. You and I are perfect for each other. I am so lucky, and I'm so proud to call you my wife.
Yeah, I'm here.
So, to my bride, to my inspiration, to Mrs. Blenko, cheers. Carla.
Let's hear it for these guys one more time. Wow.